Welcome to the Digital Nomad Experts podcast by Commute. Today we're going to talk about a topic that comes up quite a bit. Some feedback from our audience is for our more career established audience, people that have been working at the same job for a long time, kind of worked their way up the career ladder a little bit, and they wonder, can you keep making a 100K salary and become a digital nomad at the same time? Do you have to give up your salary? So today, me and Marissa are going to talk about that. Marissa, I'm going to lean on you pretty heavily, being the career coach. I'll throw in some comments every now and then and try to catch you off guard if I can. I don't think I can, but we're going to give it a go. But before we do that, how are you?
I am good. It's Monday morning, so my brain is just getting started here. You're like in your afternoon, ready to
Need
go,
to shovel some coal into your brain.
Down. I know. I'm like, let's get going. I took all weekend off working. I've been doing a lot, so it's been brain's coming back on, but I am doing well. Really excited to have this chat because we have been doing so many interviews in the past couple of weeks for people to join our Nomad Career Accelerator program that we just launched. And this is a thought and a question that keeps coming up from everybody again and again and again. So it's why I'm super excited to talk about this particular topic today. But first, how are you? Where are you?
Yeah, good. I was in Armenia for about a week, kind of a hidden little gem there. That was awesome. It's like there's no travelers there. It's like one of those spots it's one of those spots that we talk about. Yeah, we talk about it as like the up and coming digital nomad spots. First it starts with, is there good internet?
Yep.
And then people start to discover that there's good internet, and then they start flooding in. We're at the point where there's just good internet, and there's no people there yet. So it was.
Oh wow!
It was a nice little hidden gem.
You think it's going to be Armenia is going to be a up and coming digital nomad spot, or I feel like it has a ways to go before it's that, but maybe some nomads will start.
A few years off, I'd say. I mean, it's just accessibility. We're way out here. It's a little tough to get out this far east, and you're still in Europe. I don't know. The accessibility is a little bit tough, but they're marketing Armenia. Snoop Dogg is coming next week.
Yes.
they're trying to put themselves on the map. They were getting quite a bit of tourism
purposely
pre-COVID, and COVID just shut everything down.
Is Snoop Dogg literally a marketing tactic for the country, or he just happens to be going?
I don't think he happened to be going. It seems to me like it was a pretty strategic thing to kind of put them back on the map a little bit.
I love that. Yeah. Fun fact: I did a music video with Snoop Dogg back in the day when I worked at Pepsi.
Oh my God! Are you in the video, or did you help produce it?
Oh, that's a good question. I was helping behind the scenes doing a brand partnership during the video.
You phrased it like you were.
I was like a backup dancer for Snoop. No, I was not in the video, but
that's a whole podcast episode.
Fair distinction. No, but he's a whole vibe, and that's fun. But yeah, I hope more people start making it to Armenia. I actually haven't been, but the few people I know have absolutely loved it, and I know you were singing its praises as well. So super exciting.
Little hidden gem. So yeah, back in Georgia now. I got another 2 weeks or so here.
Nice.
Are you at home?
I am in Atlanta. Yeah, I am here still. Gonna be here for a little while longer. I have a trip coming up to Mexico next month, so that'll be back into it.
Is this new? I don't think we talked about it.
Yeah, I am going actually to 2 different Nomad friends' weddings in October, which is super exciting. So the first one's in New York, and then the second one is right outside Playa. So there'll be a bunch of our Nomad friends all together there. It's a friend who I actually met in Mexico. I've traveled with all over, and he kind of landed in Playa as a permanent base and met someone there and get married. So it'll be really fun. I'm excited.
Well, if you make your way down to Oaxaca, there's going to be a big group of us down there. That's where I'm heading next.
Yeah, I know there's a group there doing Day of the Dead in October. So
first time.
TBD. Yeah. Your first time doing that, not in Oaxaca, your first time doing Dia de los Muertos.
Both, yeah. First time doing Dia de los Muertos. I was traveling last time I was in Mexico, so missed it. And this will be my first time doing it. So it's going to be fun. I mean, it's the birthplace of it.
Yeah, I've been there mostly in Playa when it happened. So it's it's not quite as authentic of a version as in Oaxaca, but that'll be super fun. So never know. Yeah. I'll keep you posted, but that's fun. You'll be headed back this way. We'll be in the same country.
Yeah, I know.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
Just on opposite sides of it.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. So should we start by answering the question? Can you keep making 100,000 plus and become a digital nomad at the same time?
Absolutely. Let's start there because that is a question on everyone's mind. So if you are, maybe you're not yet making 100K and you want to, or you're making 100K, 150, 200 plus, whatever that looks like for you, and you're wondering like, can I become a digital nomad? Can I have a job and travel the world while still making this income? Because the perception is no. Most people have the perception that, you have to quit your job, change careers, or if you're doing what you are, like you have to make less because people are, giving you the pleasure of going remote, and therefore it's like more competitive, and you just like there's some misconception that people can only make like 50, 60, 70, 80K or something like that while traveling. So to answer that question, yes, you can absolutely make what you're making now, or make 100, 150, 200K plus as a remote employee while traveling the world. Just like period, end of statement. But there is this, and after talking to so many people who are making this range already and wanting to switch, there is this total fear. Like it's not possible. There's not these jobs out there. So the way I like to put it is anything you are making now, you can be making remotely while you travel the world. You can also be making more than you're making now, but just if you're someone who's like, I'm making this much, I'm going to have to take a pay cut in order to get a remote job and travel, it is absolutely not true. And we have plenty of friends, I know maybe Jeff, this is where you can chime in too, who we know who are making that 100 to 200K plus range as employees while traveling to places like Armenia, to Europe, South America, Africa, Asia, everywhere. So any thoughts on people that you know personally? You don't have to like say people or even what their jobs are, but just like to corroborate this story.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, I don't know what percentage, it's hard to gauge because you don't talk money with your friends so much, but you can kind of gauge. And I'd say probably over 50% of them are making 100K plus, I'd say, with their skill sets that they have. Yeah, and they've done it in a lot of different ways, and I don't know if you're going to get into that or not. Like they've negotiated with employers, they've switched jobs, but stayed in the same vein, stayed in the same skill set, right? Yeah. And I'm sure that comes up quite often too, with people thinking, well, do I have to switch my entire skill set to adopt one that is actually a little bit more conducive to the digital nomad lifestyle? When you get that kind of question, what do you tell people?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because it depends what you're doing now, I suppose. But you don't have, it's not like there's only 3 careers where you can work as an employee where you can make this much and travel the world, right? There are some that are more common for sure. So if you think about the software developers, the tech sort of jobs, like I feel like those are almost always, I mean, depends how many years into it you are, but those are kind of more guaranteed to be like, you're making 100K plus, it's really easy to do nomadically, and there's such a demand and tons of skill sets. But you certainly don't have, like, if you're like, that sounds terrible, I don't want to do that job, it's not like you have to switch to that job in order to be a nomad. There's plenty of people we know who are working in marketing, who are working in HR, who are working in some sort of like writing job, or all sorts of, online, just like jobs that you would never imagine that are so even just random. So again, I say like whatever you are capable of doing or are doing, where you are on that trajectory, you're already making that much in whatever job you're currently doing, unless you are someone who has to be in person, right? If you're like a doctor who must work in person, like it's going to be hard to do surgery and make that. But we've also had like brain surgeons and cancer researchers who are making probably that much while traveling. So
I met a lawyer.
Yeah, so we have
patent. Yeah, I met a patent lawyer, I think. Like started out as a regular, like, I don't know if he was doing divorce or something like that. I don't know. But he was like, I want to remain a lawyer because the income is great. Obviously, you're a lawyer. You worked hard to get to that point. And he's like, well, I need to do something where I can resolve cases out of court. He's like, I can do patents. And he just took his existing skill set, transferred it over, and makes the exact same money. He was in Costa Rica on a bus with me. He's like, I'm just going to knock out a few patent cases while I'm in, where were we? I don't know. I think it was Santa Teresa. And he was just living there, doing exactly what he was doing before, making a killing.
I love it. Yeah, I've traveled with someone who works in employment law. I met someone in Playa earlier this year who was a mediator, and was doing that remotely now. So it's like within law, it's kind of like a subset of like you don't need a law degree, but you're kind of mediating different sort of law type of cases. So there are, hopefully even just as we're throwing these things out at you, there are plenty of people I know who like are different, teachers of things online. So again, I guess like the two kind of takeaways so far as we're going through this is one, whatever you are making now or on trajectory to make within your career, unless you absolutely have to be somewhere in person and cannot leave, like you can make that while you are traveling the world. There really is a way. And then two, you don't have to switch careers in order to do so. Like whatever you're doing, as Diego always says, like as long as you like think about where you're working from home. If you can do that from your laptop or whatever at home, and that doesn't mean, some employers want you to come into an office, would prefer you to come into an office, will make you come into an office. But theoretically, if you are or can be doing your job from your computer and making that much in whatever, place, country, career path you're in, you can also do that while you travel. And it's just about finding the right jobs, negotiating it correctly. And more people are open, like more and more employers are open to that now. And also some are making people come back. But yeah, you don't have to switch. It's not like there's, only two types of careers that make $100K plus while traveling. You really can do anything. You got to go after it, negotiate it, and find it. So there's some tricks to it, but it's absolutely possible is the key message and takeaway.
So I've got a question for you, and we can't do the full answer because it would be hours and probably a course. But I'm working at my old company. Say I'm working at Braft and doing digital marketing, and I say I want to travel, and the boss says no, can't do it, won't do it, won't give me a trial, nothing, won't even budge.
Yes.
Like, where can I start, either from a mindset standpoint or taking a practical steps standpoint, starting at ground zero? How do I start moving forward to first off, eliminating that fear. My biggest fear is giving up cash because I've got bills. I got to keep the lights on, right? So how do I start? Where do I go?
That's a great question. I would say number one, you have to start with your priorities. So are you so obsessed and in love with not just your current job and profession, but your current company, because your company is the one who's not allowing you right now? Is that company that you're working for more important to you than traveling as a digital nomad? So an example I have, in one quick way, some people have negotiated, let me just spend 2 weeks or a month abroad, right? We have someone who's doing our Nomad Career Accelerator now, who she actually took our course a while back and said she got her whole company, she negotiated for everyone to get a month off, not a month off, but a month being able to work as a nomad, but only 1 month, and being back in the office 11 months. So that's a cool place to start. And I say that because the kind of second step to that, and I think I've told this particular story on the podcast before, but when I was in Sri Lanka, there was a girl from Israel who was in a co-working space where I was. She was a friend of a friend, and she was there for the month. She had negotiated that 4 weeks as not even just a trial, just her boss was I will let you do 4 weeks once, but then come on back. And so she was having the most amazing time. We were living right on the beach, working by the beach. It was just the most amazing life, and she was loving it. And so I said to her, do you like your job? And she was like, I love my job. I said, do you love your company? She was like, I really love the company I work for. And I said, do you love it more than you love being here and traveling? And she just was silent. And so all of that said, a lot of us get this thing in our head where we're I love my employer. On a good day, most people, I will say, don't like their job and don't like their employer. But let's pretend for a second that you really do. A lot of people, you get that pull and you feel either obligated or you don't want to leave, or it's scary to leave, or you really enjoy what you're doing and you don't feel like you could find something better. So the question I have to you, is that more important to you than having the freedom and the flexibility to travel anywhere in the world that you want while still making this income, visiting maybe family abroad or in different states, just living the life that we talk about on this podcast? And if your answer is that your job, your current job, your career, your company is more important to you than that, then okay, we're not you must do this, then maybe you want to stay. But what I would encourage you to do is at least start looking and see, can I find another job or career company that I do like just as much or more, or maybe even slightly less, but you have the freedom to travel. So that's kind of, I would say the mindset is, it's absolutely possible to find a company that you love, a job that you love, at the salary that you want that lets you travel. It might take some work, and that's what we help you do. We can talk about that, but I would say the mindset shift is I can, and let me start looking, not, I'll never find anything like I'm doing now and make as much, so I'm not even going to try and I'll stay. But that's kind of where the mindset starts.
Yeah, the mindset check. So we get to that point. If you distill it down to something very, very digestible question, like, is my job more important than this feeling that I'm getting with traveling? That makes it an easy answer. Like, if I go back to Jeff back then, this hypothetical me, it would be, yes, I need to figure out a way to travel. That's kind of where I was at. I need to figure out a way to travel because this is a mandatory at this point, and it is more important than this current job. Like, maybe not my career, my skill set, but this current job, yes. So if we establish that, it feels like a weight is a little bit lifted. Going into this hypothetical Jeff mode, feels like a weight would be a little bit lifted. And then comes the work aspect, which is substantial, right? Where do we want to get into, like, what goes into the work? I don't know. That feels like such a heavy... So maybe
how to actually go about getting it?
Yeah, exactly. Because we can't spend 4 hours on the podcast talking about all the things that go into it because it's so substantial. But maybe we can just give kind of a glimpse into what you would recommend. And then we should talk about how we're helping people doing that too.
Yeah, definitely. So like you said, I think it starts with, you even had one minor something in the way you said, which is it's not about giving up your career or income, right? As you're debating that, I think that's a thought in most people's head. And maybe when you were in that part, you would say, like, I don't want to start making less. I don't want to give up my SEO career when you were doing that, whatever that looked like. And that was your sort of belief that you might have to in order to travel, or someone who's listening to this, right? Mm-hmm. So that's number one, is transition that mindset to not thinking I have to give up my money and my career, just saying I got to find a new cool company who's going to be just as fun to work at and lets me travel. I think I want to put it at that. And then the next question that you're asking is like, well, okay, now how do I go about doing that? Exactly. And it is, yes, there is a lot that goes into it. And let me just talk about like the way we help people, and then I'll give a few tips as well. So there's several different ways that we help people. We have online courses, we have master classes, if there's like little parts that you want to talk about. But one of the newest ways that we're helping, and it's been super fun, we've actually started this now, is called the Nomad Career Accelerator. So if you want to apply to this, we're not taking on any new people right at this second, but you can apply and join the wait list, and we'll go through these as we potentially might open up more slots in the future, because it's a lot of high-end work we're doing for people, so we can only take on limited people at a time. So if you go to, is it beachcommute.com/apply?
Yeah, that's it.
So just trying to remember what it was. Yeah, submit your application there. And basically, we are doing a lot of this hard work for you to, one, help you get clear on what is that remote career that you want to be doing. If you want to switch, if you want to transition, if you want to keep doing it, it's really important to get crystal clear to start. We then do your resume and LinkedIn for you so that you can match that to, this story that you're telling and applying to. And then we do the work of finding you those remote companies, those remote jobs, and really connecting you with the right people. So to me, those are kind of the three main stages that are really important to get right. And I would say, just as a tip, like the tactic to leave you with is that a lot of people, there are a lot of remote job boards, right? There's probably I would say 15 to 30 that I could name off here of remote jobs that are listed online. But the reality and the statistic is, there's two stats I love. They're both around the 80% number. So 80% of jobs are never posted publicly, right? So again, I always talk about here at Beach Commute, 80%. It's insane. So think about, maybe, I know even when I worked at Pepsi, we were required legally, I say legally, I think as a legal precaution internally at Pepsi, we were required to post job postings.
We did too.
Times, they already knew.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
But you know who you're hiring.
Yeah, it was just fake. It wasn't fake, but we weren't accepting any applications.
It's real. Yeah, it's like you kind of, a lot of times, even when jobs are posted, they already know who they're hiring. Yeah. Maybe it's someone internal, maybe it's a referral. So even if jobs are posted, they're already filled, or they're never posted. So even if I think about us at Beach Commute, we've hired many people who we've never posted a job listing, but someone has reached out to us before, or we know someone personally, or through a friend of a friend, or we ask someone and they give us a recommendation. That's how most of the people we've hired have come to us as well. So all of that to be said, you're saying there might be all these remote job listings, and a lot of people get really frustrated because they're like, I'm applying and I'm not getting any jobs. Or maybe you're seeing more of the entry-level jobs posted. And I know that we share, in our emails, we do share a lot of entry-level jobs because they're just sort of easier to share. They're more applicable to everyone, but it doesn't mean that's the only thing out there. So even if you're seeing, I know we get a lot of frustrations of like, I'm looking at all these remote job boards, but I'm like applying and I'm not getting any jobs. No one's calling me back. And then you start to like get in your own head
Spiral
of, I'm not qualified. Maybe I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Spiral. Maybe I'm not skilled. This isn't meant for me. No one's ever going to hire me. This job was a fluke that I got anyway. I can't leave because you're not hearing back. And so what I'll say is like a lot of the best qualified candidates, when you just apply blindly online, you never hear back. And it's not because you're not qualified. And you've talked about this a lot, Jeff. Sometimes when you're the hiring manager, which you've been, you might get 200 to 300 resumes and you simply can't go through them. You're like, all right, somebody tell me, do you know someone who's like, tell me who I should just talk to, because you don't have time to look through it, all of these resumes.
Make it easy for me.
Yeah, so we've talked about this a lot. Is really the best way to go about this is identify the companies that you're most excited about, reach out to them personally, and set up what I call these informational interviews. And it takes a lot of knowing how to do that correctly, of like reaching out to them in the correct way, saying the correct thing. A lot of people will just email, waste their time because they talk about themselves, they do it in the wrong way, and they never hear back from anybody. So you really want to, again, find the companies, find the people, send them emails, but send the right thing to say, and then jump on these calls. And again, you have to know how to present yourself in a way that makes you seem hireable without asking, and then those people will send you to more people. And that's a lot of what we're teaching and doing for people inside the Nomad Career Accelerator. But as a gist of it, like hopefully that helps. Like that's the route that works, not just applying blindly online to jobs that you may or may not find in the first place because they may or may not be posted anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And half the time when you do apply for it, like you said, they already have somebody in mind. I did that a bunch of times at Brafton. I would have somebody perfectly in mind. I knew I was going to hire them, but they're like, no, you have to post the job posting anyways. I'm sure that happens all the time, and it can be very frustrating for people.
Yeah.
So that is another.
Yeah, because you think you find the perfect job.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we're helping people work around, because if you spend that much time applying for jobs that aren't really set up to take applicants, right? It's really, really frustrating. So we're helping people with that quite a bit. Okay, cool. So didn't want to make this a total advertorial. It just kind of fit in perfectly with what we're doing because people are asking this question all the time. But yeah, do we have any like final words to wrap this thing up for people in giving them either encouragement or like some last practical steps that they would have to make this transition over and keep their money?
Yes, exactly. I would say the biggest thing with everything, it starts with like mindset. And I know that people are like, but give me the tactics and the tips and this. I would say like, unless you believe that like you can do it, it's possible. And we want to leave you at the very least with that, which is whatever you're making now or whatever you are on trajectory to make, if you stayed in your same city, state, country, whatever, and kept, rising up the corporate ladder or whatever company you're in or want to be working for, you can do that while you travel. Like hands down period, if you took nothing else away from this, I think that's the most important thing I want people to know is that you absolutely can. And there's people making all sorts of money doing, again, sales, being lawyers, doing mediation, working in software development,
marketing,
and like
Salesforce.
HR, marketing, like you name it. Yes, like you name it, people are doing it and it's possible. So I think that's the most important takeaway is like whatever you're doing, unless you are like working a physical job somewhere where not just an employer wants you to be there, but like you literally can't, like then maybe you'll switch careers. But other than that, you might want to switch careers and that's okay. But like anything you can do from your computer in your job now, you can make just as much money while traveling. So that's step one. And then step two is like really looking at like what is more important to you, staying at the current job that won't let you travel. And there's tips that we also teach of how to try to negotiate if that's a possibility. But I know sometimes it's literally just not. So the question then to you is, do you love your company so much that it will prevent you from exploring and traveling the world? If that's your desire, right? Not everybody wants to, but if you're listening to this podcast, you probably do. So think about that, like which is more important to you in your life. And then 3, to do it. And one last thing we actually didn't cover, which the kind of last words of wisdom I want to leave is a lot of people have this, I say irrational fear, but it's rational, which is it doesn't feel as safe to people. A lot of people feel like they'll lose their jobs more likely. that it's not as reliable or stable, that's the word, if they're doing it like while traveling the world. Like there's this fear. So imagine there's like two people. We've got like Bob is over here working at an in-person company in an office, and he feels like his job is really stable. And we've got like Anne doing the exact same job for the exact same company traveling the world. People think that like Anne is going to just like lose her job and be stuck around like somewhere in the like in a foreign country with no money, and like she's just going to get like cut. I don't know why people have this fear. So what I will say is it is a real fear regardless if you're in an office or traveling, and people are not, there's not any statistic that says like you are more likely to get cut from your company or get let go if you're traveling the world versus in an office. So there's this like false sense of security that if I stay in an office, I'm safer. And yes, it's scarier if that happens to you while you are, off in another country, but it's happened to a lot of our friends, but it's also happened to a lot of my friends back at home. And so the difference is, make sure you have a couple months salary that you could buy a flight home if you need, and like you can always come back. But if you're doing this job remotely, it's not any more or less safe than what you're doing in an office. So I think that keeps a lot of people as well. And I wanted to mention that. So yes, you can get this remote job and like keep on traveling. I had a client who just, got let go a few days ago, not traveling, just in her remote job at home. So this can happen to anyone, anywhere, but the takeaway is you can keep doing what you're doing, make great money, travel the world, and it's just as secure or the same as if you are doing that for your company.
It's a great point. I have yet to meet a digital nomad that got laid off because it was related to them traveling. Like I've met people laid off, budget cuts, like normal stuff that you get when you're in the office, but never was it related to travel. No. So just to reinforce that point. And the other point, I'd say the majority of people I travel with are making the 100K plus, half and half working for companies, other people, entrepreneurs and freelancers and type. But the people working for companies, making good money. And I haven't met anybody that sacrificed money to go and travel. Like it's the new, I think it's the new culture. I think it's accepted that this isn't something that you don't have to sacrifice money as this in lieu of a benefit of traveling. So that's really, really good.
Yeah. And there are definitely a lot of companies now that I'm seeing with clients who are calling people back to an office. And I think
seeing a lot of that
is causing people again to be like, okay, so it's no longer possible. There was this temporary phase, during COVID and right after COVID, and now it's all over. But there are plenty of companies that are just looking for great, talented employees who have more of a mindset that, you and I have when we hire, which is if you can do a great job, I don't care where you are, right? And so not every company will be that way, but there are plenty that are. And so you have to find those companies and those people who value great work no matter where you are, as long as you're willing to work, within their maybe certain hours, or make yourself available at certain time, or make sure you have great internet and can talk. But like it's totally doable. So if you're hearing like everyone's going back to an office, yes, some people are, but there's many great cultures and companies that don't require you to do so. You just got to find those.
Just this phase of work is kind of getting its training wheels and it's going through its ups and downs. But the trajectory is people are discovering remote work is beneficial to both. It's beneficial to the employee. It's beneficial to the employer because it costs a ton of money to rent office space in major city centers. And it doesn't make sense for a lot of companies. They can fully operate online. So it is moving in that direction. If you do have fear of people getting called back into the office, yes, it's going to take these jagged steps up towards this inevitable trajectory. So in closing, just as to reiterate, we are helping folks find these higher end jobs who are in a more developed phase of their careers. We're fully booked right now, but do check out beachcommute.com/apply. It's beachcommute.com/apply, and you can get on the wait list. Did I miss anything, Marissa, or should we close it out there?
I think that's mainly it. The other thing is if you're not making that yet or not ready to join a program of ours, do hop on our email list, beachcommute.com/email. And we actually do send out 2 entry-level jobs every week. At a minimum, we have an offer where we'll send you more than that, but hop on that so you can at least just start to see. We really try to do a good job of just sending all different types of careers, even if they are at that lower salary, because they're meant to be more entry-level. But you can get start to get a feel for the different companies that are out there. So anyway, that's a great thing. We also send info about our podcast. So if you're just joining us or just finding us, and just hop on to our email list at beachcommute.com/email. And otherwise, we'll be back at you next week.